Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bad Dependencies. I'm here with researcher extraordinaire Charlie Erikson, as per usual. Charlie, how you doing today?
I am tired. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
We're also joined by a very special guest here today, Daniel Pereira. Now, Daniel is a developer over at Loka. Loka is a Silicon Valley-based company that helps organizations launch projects that make meaningful impact, but that is not really why we brought Daniel on to talk today. Daniel was the very first person to spot the Shai-Hulud breach, the crazy self-replicating worm that is causing chaos everywhere this week. Daniel, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Now, Daniel, you actually have quite an interesting story because you discovered this, but then you wanted to report it. No one would listen. You were trying to reach out to various different people. No one would reply. You were trying to reach out to people in Discord channels. You were getting banned from those Discord channels for trying to raise the alarm. It's a pretty wild story. Can you take us through first how you discovered it and then what the process was like after that?
Sure. Just a little bit of context. I have a lot of friends at NativeScript. I don't work at NativeScript, but I admire the framework, right? So the day before yesterday, when it all started, in the afternoon here in Brazil, I was looking into their packages, community packages, and I see this weird branch named Shai-Hulud, right? I was like, this is strange. Let me take a look into it because I'm curious, right? There was only one file which was Shai-Hulud workflow, and I decided to open it. And when I opened it, like I saw three things, which was secrets, webhook, and curl, and I immediately knew that this was really bad. And then I decided to so there was this rush of adrenaline, and I was like, okay, there's something really bad going on. So let me look to make sure that I don't want to freak out for nothing. So I looked into it, and there was a curl, passing this content environment variable and sending this payload to a webhook. So sending this out to the world. And then I was like, okay, so there is something bad, and I need to warn the people in NativeScript because this doesn't seem like the typical thing that would happen inside NativeScript because I knew the guy that commented and created that file. And immediately I get my phone. I call Ed, which is a guy from NativeScript, and I was like, Ed, there's something wrong. This guy is leaking secrets. I don't know how this is happening, but it's happening. So the next thing is me, him, and a couple of folks from NativeScript on a call, and they are doing everything. Like, they were really quick. They were cleaning stuff, rotating secrets, removing people's access, like checking if they were not compromised themselves. I decided to search for this Shai-Hulud on GitHub because it had affected NativeScript, but maybe it affected other repositories as well. And when I searched it, I was actually trying to find branches, right? But it showed me repositories, right? There is this repository called Shai-Hulud. I click on it, and there is this weird data.json file with a giant string. And I mean, that it's base64 encoded because it has certain shapes. And I was like, okay, let me try to decode that. And it didn't work because it gave me another random string. And then, if you remember from the webhook that it was calling, it was base64 encoding it twice, right? So when you decoded the same data.json content twice, it would give you secrets. And at that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really bad. Like, really bad. People are having their secrets leaked on GitHub. I decided to reach out to GitHub, right? I try to, on my LinkedIn, I know some people that are influential, so I tried to reach out to them, and I was like, hey guys, do you have direct contact with someone inside Microsoft or GitHub? They were like, no, but maybe you can send them an email. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be hard. I was like, okay, let me send an email to security@github.com, right? And then I send an email, I get a reply back that my ticket was created and nothing else. And then I was like, maybe I cannot find someone, but if I post this on LinkedIn and people repost it and like, I don't know, maybe it will reach someone from Microsoft or GitHub. People that work with me here at Loca, they had some contact with someone from GitHub. Messaged the guy from GitHub, and he was like, we created an internal ticket, and I shared everything I knew so far, and he was like, okay, I'm forwarding this to the internal ticket. But there was no this sense of urgency, and like, so I was like, please escalate this. This is serious. And up until today, I haven't heard from this guy.
It must be so frustrating when you know that something's like very serious, and there is no break glass function that we have at the moment in terms of like to get this out there, to get people aware of it. And so yeah, and it's not just you, it's also us. Like we deal in this all the time. Charlie is always finding stuff, and it's like this is how it works in these big organizations. It's terribly frustrating.
You know what's the most frustrating part is? So I was in the like while I was trying to raise awareness, the guys at NativeScript, they were trying to delete the malicious versions, and they couldn't. And the reason is because when when some other package depends on your package, you cannot delete your package. And for those listening and don't know why this policy exists, is because of LeftPad, right? LeftPad was deleted, broke the whole internet, and the NPM said, okay, now you cannot do this anymore. If someone depends on your package, you cannot, delete your package. NativeScript latest versions were compromised, but they couldn't delete. They had to create a ticket, and no one was answering, right? So that's the most frustrating part. While this is all happening, I'm not getting any responses. Samuel, which is a guy that I studied with at the university, he's also at NativeScript. He reached out and said, I guess TinyColor was infected. So I was like, okay, let me take a look into TinyColor. When I look into it, it was the latest version was published like 5 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago. I was like, okay, is this version on GitHub? It wasn't. And like the first thing I do is to try to search for secrets. And I see a bunch of, list secrets, describe secrets, and I work a lot with AWS. And I know that this is like, okay, this shouldn't be on a package called TinyColor, right? And I see that there is a problem there. But then I decided to go to the end, and it was like, make repo Shai-Hulud. So it all started to click. And then I decided to report to NPM. Because, okay, so it's not a problem only for Microsoft and GitHub. It's also for NPM. So I reported there, and I got a ticket, and I think I didn't got an answer until today. So I was very frustrated. I was like, what do I do now? I tried to post on Hacker News. Like I got, I think, 6 upvotes and 0 comments. No one was caring about it. I decided to go to a Discord channel. So I watched this guy, which is Low Level Learning. I decided to enter his channel because in my head, he's an influential person, right? And when I post saying, guys, there is something really bad going on, I need influence to talk to someone inside Microsoft or NPM. And next thing I noticed, I was banned from the Discord channel. I was trying to join again. Yeah, and it was really, really frustrating because like I enjoy the channel, but now I'm kicked from the Discord channel.
For trying to raise alerts
this,
of something
yes,
like crazy that's happening.
I'm still, hurt a little bit till today. In an act of despair, I was like, okay, what's the next thing I can do? I went to the OpenJS Foundation Slack channel. And that's when things started to gain traction. I went to the security channel. I posted the exact same thing that I posted on the Low Level Learning Discord. And there was a guy, his name is Westod. He was really important because not only like he listened, he also contacted, he posted on Blue Sky because he's an influential guy, so people listened to him. And then he also reached out to this security company called Socket. This company was also really important because they discovered more, I guess it was 40 other packages, right? And it was really important because now you can, post something that people will pay attention. And that's what happened. And I also decided to post on my LinkedIn that tiny color, like the malware was spreading.
How long did this all take? Because like you've gone through like multiple different things. Like from the moment that you realized it to when you finally got in touch with Wes and with Socket. Like what's the time like that's elapsed between them?
When I first like saw the Shai-Hulud branch, it was like 2 p.m., right? And when I reached out to Wes, I think it was 6 or 7. So 4 hours.
Thank goodness you persisted for 4 hours.
I was determined.
You probably saved so much additional cost for people like in those hours. It's huge. It's hugely important. One, it's very frustrating to listen to your story because so much could have been done, and the fact that you're trying to raise alerts and you're getting banned from places is very frustrating. But it is like we have to give you credit for like really persisting through because like through that frustration.
Yeah, maybe I get unbanned. That would be a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
start.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Low level. If you're listening to this, I don't know your name. I know your channel, but like, yeah, come on, unban the brother. Give him he deserves to have like some kind of star on your Discord channel. A
Yeah.
direct line.
No. Yeah.
And then as these things do, it kind of like grows beyond you a little bit as well at this point. Now that the machine's
Yeah.
kind of working from it.
I wake up and I first thing I see on my phone is CrowdStrike, and I was like, oh my god, even CrowdStrike, like this is way bigger than way bigger than yesterday. So, I mean, the rest of the story, because we're together, like,
And that was so cool. And because like people often don't know is that you jumped into a war room with us. Everyone was still understanding it. At that point, not many people had made the connection that it was a self-propagating worm. Charlie, why don't we transition a little bit? You did a lot of analytics into this. There's a lot of kind of speculation out there at the world. What actually happened? What was this malware actually doing? Give us the goods. Give us the tea.
Yeah, so this malware, it did a lot of things, right? So this is basically a continuation of the NX compromise story, right? With Singularity from, was it end of August? Right, so it will, it's changed a little bit. It doesn't use local LLM clients anymore to try to find secrets. Now we'll try to use Trufflehawk, which is obviously a legitimate tool. Nothing nefarious there. It will try to scan the local machine. It will grab your environment variables. And it will publish it as a repository called Shai-Hulud. It will also try to find any repositories that any GitHub token you have access to can actually go and turn public if it's private. Which we saw last time happen as well, but I think that was a manual process, right? It kind of happened as a latent effect, at least initially. It will also try to find any AWS, Google Cloud keys that you have and try to iterate any secrets stored in those environments, if it can access them. It will also, if it has access to a GitHub token and it is able to create a branch and upload a GitHub action, it will try to upload a GitHub action, which will leak secrets again in a Shai-Hulud branch. There was a lot of modules, right? You can actually tell once you take the Webpack stuff and try to unpack it a little bit, right? They have like NPM module, GCP module, actual classes that do things, and they're just calling them kind of in order.
Was there some misleading things in here? Because when we first started analyzing it, we were really kind of fixated on this fact that it was calling this webhook.site webhook. And then that we actually thought that this kind of wasn't doing anything because because we're like, oh, they're rate limited. They're on a free version, right? So we were kind of fixated on this one thing. There was also this GitHub action thing that we kind of were burying down a rabbit hole. It took some time to actually figure out what the malicious mechanisms were because there were so many things going on. Were these false flags, or did they just put kind of fail-safes in it? Just kind of did a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these guys have been known to make mistakes, right? And just in the last hour, I have been looking in and trying to, because there's multiple different versions of the payload, and they made mistakes still. Was it a mistake, or was it a false flag to try to put in the webhook, that site thing? I'm not sure. Was it yeah, it's really difficult to tell because, I mean, I must assume that the exfiltration mechanism has been successful in the past, right? It still works because we are finding it. It's impossible to tell, but it still worked.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it clearly worked, and same with Singularity. It clearly did some stuff. It's just whether or not, did we get a little bit lucky in this? But I think, for the most part, it's pretty. I never want to call malware impressive, but it's kind of impressive.
And I think what's worth mentioning here is one of the things I've looked at, and again in the last hour, is how did it get out there? Right? What was patient zero? And that is really interesting. Right, so we thought this RNXT authentication, whatever it was called, right, it was patient zero, and yeah, it looks like it was because it also had a mistake. It had a post install with uppercase I in it, which will not work. So I actually see them going and trying again. And what's interesting is all the first packages we see, because of how they do the compression of the archive before uploading to NPM, you see the username of the user that ran the tar command, and it's Kali, like Kali Linux, used by a lot of security professionals. And for instance, Tinycolor, if we look at that packet, Kali Linux was Kali was the username. So those were all seeded by the attackers originally.
Right. So it's self-propagating in the sense that once it started, it got ball moving. But it sounds like the attackers were also making small adjustments and seeding it themselves during the start. Like it wasn't part of the self-propagation so much. It was a little bit more manual in those initial packages. Is that right?
Yeah, so like the first 40, 50 packages, like unique packages, not packets, versions, they were all propagated by the actual attackers. And the attackers also, after that initial batch, right? So Tinycolor was not in the first batch.
Right. They
compromised that one later on because clearly it wasn't taking off. So we're like, here's what I think happened, right? They saw like, it's not taking off. So we already had I think there was like at least 3 or 4 different maintainers that they clearly had credentials for. So like, okay, let's use another one. See if we can get it starting, like going. For instance, the native script packages, they were clearly not done through this way, right? That was a actual user that was compromised. It wasn't from a Kali Linux user.
I was thinking maybe they still have credentials for other developers and they can have other waves of different attacks, right? Because if they harvested a lot of tokens in this Singularity attack and so let's pick those 10. And if it works, and maybe it worked, and we have 100 left, and we all say, okay, guys, you should rotate the secrets, but not everyone does. They feel like they're invincible. So,
yep. So while you were talking about kind of how you discovered this, right? I actually went and looked at the native community packages, and guess what? One of the dependencies was NX.
Yeah.
So okay, so. Yeah, so this is like very clearly like the NX breach happened. It made a big splash. We posted about it. We made a whole big deal about it. There was a podcast about it. And then we all just forgot about it for 3 weeks. But the attackers had taken credentials from that. They taken the initial concept of this NX breach, and then they turned it into same thing, but turned it into a self-propagating worm, so it actually fulfilled. Do I tell you something really interesting? So Ryan Russell commented on my LinkedIn post to say that it looks like the attackers took his advice, and he shared a link. And in his post, he basically says that at the end of it, if the attackers really wanted to kind of make this something special, they should have made this a worm. I don't know if they read your post, Ryan. He's from VCISO, a security engineer. But Ryan, I'm hereby blaming you for all of this. Just so you know,
Thanks, Ryan.
Your person's here. Bloody Ryan. Yeah. So it's very clear it came from NX. It's a self-propagating worm, but almost identically the same. You mentioned there that there was a few mistakes.
Yeah. So the first mistake they made was that in the actual code, they set post install with an uppercase I in install, which will not work. So they fixed that in the next version. And then they started pushing it out to a few more packages. They already had done a bunch of packages, but they didn't work. In version 2, they had clearly tried to push to the NGX, like bootstrap packages, not realizing it was a mono repo package where you have a lot of sub packages within it, and there's no script tag. So they tried to deploy it and it did nothing. So in version 2, they also checked whether or not there even is a script tag before they try to infect the package. In the first version to second version, there was also some changes to how Trufflehawk ran. They reduced like the total max runtime and stuff like that. Just a lot of little things. Version 3, it changes a little bit around how the workflow part of it is done. They will actually go and remove the workflow after it's been run. And then changes how, instead of creating the repository first as private and then turning it public, it now just creates it as public. And there is like an environment variable to skip the Trufflehawk part, which is, I don't know.
They were testing production, right?
They were testing a production. Yeah. Not the first time we see it.
No. We've seen it before. There was a North Korean piece of malware, and they had forgot to include a dependency that they were using, and we were watching them upload a new version every 5 minutes, and we were like wondering how long it's going to take them to figure out that all they needed to do was include, because they were like debugging in console log. You could like watch them like, why isn't my malware working?
God. Let me help you.
Yeah.
I posted earlier, as you saw, right? They made another bug that they didn't fix. Rather than replace like the package.json and the bundle.js file if it's already been infected, they just add a new one. So you have packages with like multiple package.jsons and multiple versions of the bundle.js. A lot of little things that can go wrong that actually gives away quite a lot of details about how this all unfolded.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see another one?
Well, to me, it's just a matter of time, right? But for those things to happen. But the right question is, how long is going to take for NPM to take those down and for someone to act on this? Because even after all the alarm, even after socket.dev published the first article, like GitHub was still listing those repositories. And there were still other packages being created with malware versions.
Well, let's get into this because we need to wrap up soon, but there's some questions I'm dying to ask you, Daniel. And so I want to take you back to when you first discovered this. What would have been the workflow if Microsoft came to you and they say, Daniel, we want you to design a workflow so that in the future people can report this, and we want you to tell us how it's going to work, like for this. What would you design?
It's not rocket science. It's just having someone like a hotline, let's say, that people will pick it up fast. And I know it might be hard for NPM because maybe they don't have enough people. But if that's the case, then maybe they need more money. So maybe get from, the big companies. So I think that that's the way it should work. Like there should be a hotline where you can just, send, and there should be people that would investigate. I would say like people that they trust and can be reached. Like maybe Charlie is a hero, like security hero from NPM. And I can reach out to Charlie because he's more maybe accessible than, a guy that works inside NPM. Like if you have a bunch of those, maybe it's easier to reach out and to contact, right? Maybe that's one option too.
I will point out that if you report a packet on PyPy as malicious, usually it's quarantined within 15 minutes and usually taken down within a couple of hours.
So it's possible. Yeah, because like when was the last big PyPy breach that we've all been talking about, right? Like when I can't remember. Like I know it happens on PyPy, but I mean like it doesn't seem to propagate as I mean famous last words.
Can I say something really stupid? And maybe we'll cut this out because I don't want to be the next Ryan. Right. So the logical sort of series of steps from this, right? If we take the singularity, Shai-Hulud, what's the next thing? It's propagating across ecosystems. They have collected a lot of tokens and they have built worms. Why? There's nothing to stop them from doing the exact same thing if they see a PyPy token, right? Assuming it has a similar type of token, and go and compromise any PyPy tokens that somebody packages that somebody has access to, right?
Oh, Charlie, you're full of joy. Thank you for that soothing thought.
But that's a legitimate risk.
Go to
right?
sleep on.
NPM can impact other ecosystems.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that was also right, and it was something that like Wiz pointed out with the breach from like debug and all of that 99% of cloud accounts had exposure to it, and then the internet went crazy with that, saying, how is that possible that 99% has exposure when it's just Node? And it's kind of like, yes, but if you look at your cloud infrastructure, if you look at your application, if you look at everything, like Node is there, regardless of what you are programming.
My car uses Node, uses JavaScript.
And probably Java too, according to Oracle.
I could see the name of the packages in the software version or something like that. I was like, oh my gosh, my car has JavaScript. I'm cooked.
It's probably the infotainment.
Shai-Hulud is like, it's going to drive you off the road one day when someone does a malicious package update.
Yeah, man.
Oh. Well, look, we've been talking for too long already, so we have to start wrapping it up. But Daniel, it was great. It was great to have you here. I actually think you gave some good insights. I am going to be pitching our NPM heroes or NPM stars to NPM. We do now have a contact there, so I think that is a genuinely good idea. So I thank you for persevering through that 4 hours before we finally got into it. Shout out for Socket for writing that first blog, getting the word out there. And shout out to you, Charlie, for discovering kind of the next steps of this tech and getting it down there. So no shout outs for me. I'm just an idiot that posted it on LinkedIn, but whatever. We all play our part. All right. On that happy note, I'm going to leave it here. Thanks, guys, so much for joining me. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.